But let's get into this. Wishmaster. So I just got done watching Wishmaster for the first time, and this is executive produced by Wes Craven along with Wes Craven Presents. Because if you looked at any of the marketing material for this movie, if you looked at the trailer, if you looked at the poster, Wes Craven's name was all over the marketing for this movie. And I have reviewed some other Wes Craven produced movies this October. I started off the month of October with Pulse, so that was my first review of October. So if you want to see my review for Pulse, which this was written by Wes Craven, this was written by, not produced. So yeah, go check out my review for Pulse, and then I also did a review for Wes Craven's The Breed, which I wasn't really that fond of that movie. It was more hilarious than actually scary. Um, it's like the movie's not even like so bad it's good. It's just like so bad it's bad. It's definitely wasn't Wes Craven's fondest work because he's done better movies, and I know Wes Craven is a genius. He's done some of the best horror movies, A Nightmare on Elm Street, which I am going to review later this month. Hills Have Eyes, like he's invented one of the scariest horror icons ever made, and a horror icon that still scares people today. Freddy Krueger. So the guy can do good work. It's just like I feel like when it comes to producing, it's either that he doesn't really try, or the director has more of a take on this than we are being led to believe, and that's what I actually did find out with Pulse actually. With this movie is like Wes Craven was like about like 1% of Wes Craven's original screenplay for this movie was cut out, and who's the other writer in this movie? Ray Wright, and his script was the main one that we got in that movie. He said that I can't quote unquote what he said, but he said the final product has barely nothing that he had in his screenplay. Anyways, let's keep on track and talk about Wishmaster. So the first point I have written down here is the opening scene. This film starts out very promising. It's off to a very good and exciting start because the practical effects in the gore in the opening scene and just in general in this movie look phenomenal. I have no issues with the practical effects when they're used in this movie. Like, there is CGI in this movie, which that is a point I do have written down here, which I will talk about that later on. But just sticking on the practical effects for a minute, like this opening scene probably has some of the best practical effects I've seen in a horror movie. Like everyone's turning into like lizards and creatures and all that, and there's like one scene where a skeleton is crawling out of a dead guy's body, like that, like his body like splits apart, and man, the practical effects on that, oh geez, that looks so good. And just like the opening scene, yeah, was so good, and just like throughout the film, like the practical effects just like constantly just blew me away with how well they look. Um, like, um, like I think if I was to create like a ranking, like a top 10 or top 15 like best practical effects in horror movies, I think the practical effects in Wishmaster I feel like would be somewhere in that 15. It probably won't be number one because like I still think A Nightmare on Elm Street has better practical effects than this movie. Like the practical effects in A Nightmare on Elm Street still blow me away. Like every time I watch that movie. So, um, yeah. But this movie is definitely not far behind it. Like, if I was to create like a top 10, like a top 10 best like practical effects in horror movies. Like, I would have to go back and watch like a lot of 90s and 80s horror movies, because there are a lot of slashers in particular that came out in the 80s that have like some really impressive practical effects in them. So I think that would be a very hard ranking to do. But yeah, Wishmaster would probably be on that list somewhere. But yeah, the practical effects, I cannot praise them enough in this movie because they look terrific. Just like the makeup, the whole design, the whole execution of the practical effects looks gorgeous on screen. Um, and it really shines when it's on screen. The next point I did have written down here was the gore, but I've already kind of talked about how well the gore is, and I will talk about it more in this review once I get to the CGI. But yeah, I will move on from that. But yeah, just to recap, yeah, like the gore in the movie, it's majority of it is on screen, and I want to say maybe a good 90, actually probably 80% of the deaths in this movie are practical. And you can definitely tell because like the CGI like is a bit dated in this movie, so you can definitely tell what's practical and what's CGI. Which I will talk more about that when I get to it. But yeah, just moving on from the gore for a minute. Next point is this movie has cameos and appearances from probably some of the best horror icons in the horror community, and that is Tony Todd is in this movie, and he plays a police detective, and Kane Hodder. Jason fans, anybody? And he plays a security guard, and Robert Englund, Wes Craven executive produced. Robert Englund is in this movie, Nightmare on Elm Street. But yeah, anyways. And he plays Raymond in this movie, he he's kind of like a businessman in this movie, and this movie has Ted Raimi as well, which I recently I saw Ted Raimi in a horror movie a few months back. It was this movie that took place in a store, and the movie had Bruce Campbell. I think Sam Raimi was also in it. I think it was Ted Raimi, Sam Raimi, and Bruce Campbell were all in it. It was like it took place in a grocery store. I can't think of the movie off the top of my head, but really fantastic movie. And yeah, so yeah, Ted Raimi is in this movie, and he has a very quick death in this movie. He dies off very quickly from when he shows up on screen in this movie, because his role is very short in this movie. It's probably like a minute, if you're including the ending of the movie as well, which I will get to that. But yeah, basically they're trying to move this crate, and I can't think of the guy's name, but the guy who was like controlling it, he spilled his coffee, which then dropped the box, and it landed on Ted Raimi's character. So yeah, he dies off very quickly in this movie. England probably has the biggest role in this movie out of the three. Kane Hodder dies off very shortly after he shows up in this movie. Tony Todd is in this movie quite a bit, but I feel like Robert Englund, I feel like he has probably the most screen time in this movie. But then he dies in the third act of this movie. Like he has a what is it? He has like an insect like crawling out of his mouth. Really good stuff there. Oh, and yeah, like the opening scene in the third act, they're probably the highlights when it comes to the gore. Like there's sprinkles throughout the film with gore, but I feel like as far as practicality, the opening scene started it off well, and the third act ended it well. So yeah. What else do I have to say here? The creature, so Wishmaster. Um, Wishmaster is a very interesting character in this movie. He like the actor who played him, I don't know his name. I didn't write it down on here. But yeah, the actor who plays Wishmaster, credit to you, dude. You did an incredible job, and he chewed up every single scene he was on screen. Wishmaster is very entertaining, and the makeup on Wishmaster, I've definitely got to give credit to that. The makeup and the whole design of Wishmaster, really like it. And the voice. He has a very sinister voice in this. Has a very deep and dark voice, and I thought it added to the Wishmaster character. But yeah, Wishmaster, whenever he's on screen, he is really good. One thing I did not write down on here is the main character, well, the actor who plays the main character. I thought she was really good in this movie. And yeah, I don't really have many problems with her character. But yeah, performance is good. A character could have been maybe a little bit better, but like I was still cheering for her character because she feels like all the pain that Wishmaster is putting other people through. Like it's all kind of coming back to her. It's all reflecting back to her. Like once Wishmaster kills someone, like she feels that pain. Wishmaster, like he speaks about that at the end of the movie where she's the one that's feeling the pain of his victims. So yeah, main character was okay in this movie, but yeah, performance was really strong in this movie. CGI, okay. The As I said before, the CGI is very dated in this movie. Um, it's like you can definitely tell like when CGI is being used. Like there's a scene at the end when Wishmaster like shoots himself in the head and it looks awful. But Kane Hodder's death um, in this movie, I thought was probably the least creative death scene in this movie because literally all Wishmaster does is freeze him and makes him a wall of glass. It's and then just walks through him, and then the glass shatters. That's literally his whole death. But the CGI when Kane Hodder is a wall of glass looks absolutely horrendous. But yeah, the CGI, it's definitely, like I said, I'm sure when this movie came out, which was like the 90s, CGI would have maybe been more respected back then. But like now that like technology has upgraded and like CGI is used more than ever now, CGI just takes you out of the scene. Like when you're looking at a computer generated object that doesn't look realistic, it's hard to take it seriously. But besides that, that's probably my only gripes with the CGI. But yeah, moving on to the next point, which is the ending. I really liked what they did with the ending because they repeat the same events that happened at the beginning of the movie with the box or crate dropping on Ted Raimi's character and then the worker finding the red stone. But this time around, it's the same events but just changed. So this time around, the crate actually lands on the ground as planned. The guy doesn't spill his coffee. There is no incident. No one dies, and so that kind of erases Wishmaster's existence, because without someone finding the stone, he's kind of helpless, and so the stones inside the box. I'm guessing it's being put in. I'm guessing it's being put in like a museum. I don't think they even mentioned what they were going to do with the box. If it was to go to plan, was that going to be like shipped somewhere? Well, I suppose it was. It was being. I suppose it was on a shipping boat. But I'm guessing they were going to like put it in a museum or something, or take it to a science lab or something. Like I'm not really sure what they were going to do with it. But yeah, the ending kind of fixes the result of the beginning on how it should have turned out. Moving on to my last point, this film sets itself up for a sequel, with one last sneaky little laugh before the credits, hinting at Wishmaster's return, which we did get a sequel sometime down the line, and this film I think has like 4 movies in total. I haven't seen all 4. I've only seen the first Wishmaster. But I think as Wishmaster goes, like I enjoyed this film. This isn't like the greatest movie ever made. It's not a movie I'm probably going to go back and like rewatch. Like I will probably like rewatch it like maybe a year from now, but it's not a film like I'm in a rush to go back and revisit, because I think in my opinion, I think there's better horror films out there. But like this film, like it was fun. It's just like the CGI like fails in this movie horribly. The script could have been a bit better. The main character could have been a little bit more developed. As it goes and as a whole, this film was a fun watch. It was a fun first viewing. So anyways, guys, let me know down in the comments, have you seen Wishmaster? If so, what did you think of it? Did you like it? Did you think it was mad, or did you really not like it? Let me know all your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section down below. So anyways, guys, I hope you have a good rest of your day, evening or night, wherever you are, and I'll see you in the next video. Alright, bye.